Hello, you're listening to Back to the Boardroom. I'm Greer.
And I'm James.
And we're finally at the interviews episode, the best one of the whole series. Everyone's been waiting for it. People that listen, they've got in contact with me and said it's the interviews one. Even my mum has been on the phone, excited, saying we've got to compare notes after. And I said, no, I've got to talk to James first. So have you been excited all week about the interviews?
I have. I've been looking forward to it. And I don't think they disappointed. I enjoyed the episode. I've got some good news that I'll tell you later about predictions. And stuff like that. But first, I've got a little surprise.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm going to get it and then I'll give some context.
What is it going to be? He's actually getting up from his seat. He is gone. If you're watching on YouTube, James has gone. And it is just me here. What on earth is it going to be? Is it a pie? I thought it could be pie related. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. Please watch on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, you've got to look because James finally has
the bear.
Yes! The bear from the treat
Adam
a few weeks ago has been returned.
Yeah. Fair game.
Fair game.
Adam has released custody.
Yeah. James's bear that you won. Was it the arcade place in London where the candidates went and you said, I've been there before, but I didn't want to carry a pink bear home on the train?
It was. So Adam kindly transported it. It's been with him for 3 months, I think. And it's finally returned home.
He didn't post it to you, did he?
No. It was delivered in person yesterday.
Wow. A special trip, just because you called him out on the podcast. So another thing we do have to talk about, because it's 2 weeks running, James has promised that we're going to sit here and eat pie. And I know everyone is going to be disappointed when I say pie is not happening again this week. And it's through no fault of, well, it is our fault, but it's not Turner's Pie's fault. They've sent us the pies. But what it is James and I live quite far away from each other and we've got to meet up at an undisclosed location at the weekend, and there's going to be a bit of a deal with the pies, a swapping in central London.
A deal.
It is.
A deal of pies.
But if any coppers are out there looking for their next arrest, they'll just find us with a steak and kidney and a chicken and mushroom and be very disappointed.
Steak and Stilton.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to this. Finally, we're going to taste the pies. And you will get your pie update because I'm definitely going to be trying them. So pie update is still to come. Sadly, not this week, but it will be next week.
So as you know, this week it's the interviews and each of our 5 remaining candidates has to face one of the 4 aides or the 4 trusted advisors.
Yes, that's how he puts it, doesn't he? Yeah, he says that they're my most trusted advisors. I think, do they meet up? There'd be quite a scary pub quiz team if they met up regularly.
Yeah. So it consists of, I think, Mike Sutia, Linda Plant, Claudine Collins, I think, which is new for this year, and of course, Claude Littner.
I liked how there is both the male and female version of the name Claude. Claudine and
Claude.
Yes. That's the nerdy fact from me this time. But yeah, that's a little thing that I liked. I thought it was interesting when Lord Sugar said at the beginning, because obviously he was there, he wasn't getting his massage, that he had given away £3 million to 12 winners and they're waiting for the 13th one. But putting it down into he's actually given £3 million away is quite interesting. I thought I hadn't actually done the maths and thought about how much he's actually given away. I wonder how much the businesses and the business partnerships have made him back, though. That's what I really want to know.
I would say he's probably in a profit.
I think so.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting is I forgot last week we were saying how long do you think Claude and the rest of the interviewers have the business plan for? And then this week it actually started with a phone call where Paul was just stood in a denim jacket, which seemed very out of place.
I think they must do it on a computer that has no internet and only access to Microsoft Word.
I know, I'm surprised there's not sort of more clip art or that, bright fire-looking word art that used to be in everyone's school presentations.
perfect.
Yeah.
Or the multicoloured one.
Yeah, the balance sheet flying in or coming in bars on the transitions.
But they did, I did think they toned it down a bit this year.
Yeah, they seemed to be a little bit nicer, didn't they? They actually said, "You're a really impressive person," a few times. I was like, really? We're used to them saying, "Do not get into business ever in your entire life and go home immediately." They did say they were going to clean it up, and I think it was a little. Let's go through some of our top moments from the interviews this week. As always, there's loads, but I think we're going to have a look at each of the candidates individually. And let's start with James's favourite. It is Trey. He obviously was very charismatic. He seemed to be able to sell and put his ideas out there, and he seemed like a very likeable guy. But as we found out, he said a few times things that were a little bit interesting, like, "I've never really worked a normal job," and he's never met the people that are going to be manufacturing for him. And he didn't really seem to have much experience in creating what he called functional shots based on testosterone. Is that something that you would buy in the market? Would you be like, "I'm going to buy a testosterone shot"?
Probably not. If I'm being really honest, probably not. I'm not his target market. He was trying to sell it, but I don't know how much success he was having. And I think my top moment from Trey's interviews it has to be the one with Mike, where, you know, he grills him for not going up to Scotland to the drinks lab to taste it. So, of course, Mike has had the formulation made up and they're going to taste it right there, right now.
That was a Mike special. He's known for doing things like that, and it was great. And I actually noted down the recipe in case anyone wants to try and replicate it at home, which I won't be. But it's got ginger, black pepper, ashwagandha, vitamin C, vitamin D, and turmeric. And it burnt the back of their throats. But Trey, he kept a straight face, kept his cool, and said, "Oh, I like it."
Yeah. We'll have no idea what it's like. Maybe we should try and make it.
I really enjoyed when Trey put his shot down and Mike was like, "Are you not going to finish it?" And then he just was there downing the shot.
Fair play to Trey though, as you said, kept a straight face.
Yeah.
Was like, I actually quite like it. Bit too much black pepper.
What is so confusing to me though is obviously you're going on to get investment, and a few of them did this. They had never tried out their product, making it or anything, or doing a lot of research. People came with concepts, and then some of the others came with fully functioning businesses. So I think there's a bit of a disparity. But come on, a recipe, you can try and make that at home. Paul is another one that had quite a lot being said to him in the interviews this week. He was sort of confused as to how his business would actually work. I think it was a concept, probably is quite a good concept. Loads of people in health and medicine needing scrubs, well-fitting, sort of stain-resistant, water-resistant, but he didn't seem like the man to do it in the end.
No, so I think there was a clear theme from all of his interviews that basically, why didn't he choose the more successful area that he's proved himself in and has got the experience in? And I think that wore him down a bit. You know, having interviewer after interviewer say the same thing. It's a hard one. Linda went into specifics like, where's your samples? Where's your details about sizing? And I think, again, my top moment from his interviews comes from Mike pointing out, these aren't your images, they're misleading. You've ripped off someone else's website.
I've written that down too in quotation marks. Yeah, that's not great. You can get stock images and putting your own branding on, but if you're actually selling an item of clothing and then you don't show it but show someone else's, that's pretty bad. I liked that Claudine said to Paul, which seemed a bit weirdly out of character for him. He'd written that obviously he had a lot of qualifications, good in business. And then it was like, and I can also do body popping. Yeah, and he was like, oh, that wasn't meant to be in there, which made me think, did someone go into his business plan and write that in? Or was he trying to make a joke? But they both sat there like, oh, yeah, that wasn't meant to be in there. But obviously it was, because you wrote it as a joke. No one was laughing, though. So that was a little bit awkward, too.
Yeah, good old Paul.
Shall we talk about Flo next? Because she's been a personal favourite of mine. She seems quite switched on and intelligent throughout, and I thought she was going to do well. And then I found out what her business was, a recruitment business focused on placing senior finance professionals. And I'm sorry, Flo, but I was bored.
Do you know what? I don't know whether this counts as a top moment, but the thing that I noticed is, and it's not a bad thing, but I don't think Flo seemed that confident. You know, like in the tasks, I thought I didn't notice it, but when we got to this episode, I feel like, actually she doesn't like these types of situations, which is fair enough. I don't either. So that kind of surprised me, because I thought she had a lot bigger personality and was out there a lot more in the task.
I think so. Her business, compared to the others and the other people we've had on, was quite, just really different. Obviously, recruitment in itself is something that lots of people are familiar with, and they've used recruitment agencies and things like that. But actually, private equity funds and senior finance professionals, it seemed a little bit a step above, or perhaps a complete different industry than we've had before on there. And I do wonder if it's kind of hard to translate to a mass audience on TV, but whether Lord Sugar actually wanted to get involved in that sort of space anyway. I think he does prefer to champion, especially on this, people who are a bit more market trader, salesy types than Flo. But yeah, you're right. She was a bit unsure of her business. I think that's probably the interviewers being a bit scary, though. Yeah,
exactly. And again, any guesses what my top moment was?
Is it a Mike moment?
It is a Mike moment, because obviously he brings out the shell shock of, oh, Hathor Consulting is already a business in Norfolk, so you can't have that. And then Flo goes, but I did buy the domain name.
Yeah. She knew his tactics. Let's look at Rachel next. She wants to create 5 boutique fitness studios in the north of England for group fitness. And I quite like that it's sort of all based in the north, you know, bring some money and some, you know, interesting ideas to a different part of the country for The Apprentice. I did enjoy when Claudine showed the logos and she was saying, oh, I stand out, I'm completely different, we've got an identity. And then all the logos were just black and white and blocky and the same.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah. And can I guess yours again? Is it another Mike?
It is another Mike moment. It's domains again. He's bought the North, was it North Studio? Newcastle?
Yeah, Newcastle.
And another one. However, he did offer to sell them to her. £34, good bargain.
That is a good bargain. I thought, I can imagine him at home, you know, maybe sat there on his laptop at night with an alcoholic beverage and is just laughing to himself on GoDaddy or something, buying those domains.
Claude probably deserves a mention. I think with quite a lot of the candidates, his line was, "You not provided any of your accounts." And,
I know. He's the accounts man, isn't he, all the time? And really, that's what Lord Sugar wants to know. So I think he leaves the most trusted bit to Claude because he's just great.
Yeah. He's a hard man to please, is Claude.
And then shall we talk about the luckiest man on earth? Phil.
The luckiest man on earth, yes. And I think go straight in with a quote from Claude. I don't care about pictures.
I like that. He obviously had photos of the pies in the business plan.
Yeah. and he wanted the numbers.
He did want the numbers completely. But yeah, Phil didn't have anything. No cash flow, balance sheet, profit and loss sheet, nothing included. And then I was really confused when he was talking about that in the last 6 months, he had sort of old-fashioned accountancy practices, whether he was outsourcing that to like his dad or an accountant, or he was just marking stuff off on, a notepad. But I don't understand, because tax is digital these days. It's meant to be digital. There's a switch. So Phil,
you sound just like the
business.
advert.
Yeah, you've got a big business bringing in, there's 700,000 in his bank account. Come on, that self-assessment needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, and again, Mike providing a top moment, saying about that's not a nod, that's deceiving customers in terms of the established in 1933, and his quote, "I know how you go about changing that. You paint over it."
Yeah. And Phil just looked like, oh, I really don't want to have to do that. That's going to be such a big selling point for his pies. Yeah. It'll be on everything, I bet. We'll have to look on ours.
Yeah, I haven't looked in that much detail, but now we've watched the episode, we're gonna investigate. Okay, so narrator update, the penultimate one, and guess what? We had 1 hour.
I know.
This episode, 1 hour, 6 a.m., which we have not had before. You couldn't have predicted it. It puts us on episode 11 with 17 distinct hours.
So you say that you couldn't predict it, but someone has. I hope next week we need to get some more hours in. Are they going to get 3 more in for me to win? I
don't know. It's possible, but it's also possible that they could just go through every hour they've already used. So it could go either way.
That is tough. That is a tough prediction we've been working on, but you have noted them down every week, which has been some good going.
Yeah, I will share the graphs and all.
I'm looking forward to that.
And I guess there's only one other prediction we need to check into, and it's obviously we both predicted Phil being the runner-up, and that may come true. I mean, he made it to the final at least.
I cannot believe it. I thought, midway through the season, we were going to absolutely lose on that because he's been doing so badly in the losing team. But he's managed to somehow turn it around, and now he's in the final, which is good for us too, because we might win. But we've both got the same predictions, so there's no competition for you there.
Yeah, I'm so pleased he got through, but we'll discuss that more later. So there you go. There's the penultimate prediction update.
Now it's time to go back to the boardroom for the penultimate week, where it wasn't just the candidates, it wasn't just Lord Sugar, Baroness Brady and Tim. All of the interviewers went in first, which I enjoyed. I think they liked strolling in past the candidates, and they let Lord Sugar know exactly what they thought of everyone. Now, I think they had a good time in there. There was some rude jokes being thrown around, even from Karen.
Yeah, I always like this bit because there's a bit of joking between his trusted advisors and Lord Sugar, and I think they started it off with the classic Lord Sugar saying 18 series, and you've nod to Claude from being there from day one, and still looks as young as possible, and something about you're not taking Trey's juices, are you?
I think it came up a bit later, but I'm going to have to bring it up now. I absolutely threw up in my own mouth when he said Trey's man juice. I hated that phrase.
He does it on purpose. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, people will be having a cup of tea and their pudding or something, watching The Apprentice, and they'll, be put off it. I did really enjoy them going through with Lord Sugar again, exactly what was wrong with each business plan. Phil's pies, currently not profitable because he splurged after the pandemic. Flo blowing all her money in the first 3 months. Rachel, she seemed to know her figures in the boardroom, but didn't have any written down. And then Paul, almost delusional. I enjoyed. Is it scrubs or is it a dentistry business? Who knows? He never knew. It was weird though. Do you think with Paul, I can't think if we've had a time where after all the business plans, after all of the weeks, a candidate has just been allowed to change their idea and slightly pitch in a very short amount of time to Lord Sugar.
I feel like it's happened before.
I just can't pinpoint.
I seem to remember something like this happening before, but I couldn't tell you what series or example.
Yeah. I wondered, is that a good thing? Is it unfair to everyone else? Because they don't get to change anything. I guess it's not in the end. But Lord Sugar asked for a 50% partnership in his total dental business, which was quite big, really.
Yeah, and do you know what? I respect him, and I think he made the right choice. I think Lord Sugar saw an opportunity, to get a good share in something that he's taken time to build up to be successful. And yeah, I thought, it's obviously good for Lord Sugar, but I think I'm good on Paul. Didn't buckle under the pressure and knew he didn't want to give that away. So fair play.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good. And Lord Sugar obviously didn't want to be secondary in his business. He wanted to be at the forefront of everything. And, how much time would someone spend on their second business when they're still trying to pay back their first loans and things? I don't know. Bit of a messy pitch in the end. But then Lord Sugar obviously started talking about the others. And I think Trey, he really liked Trey. They all seem to really, really like him, just as you do. Yeah. And I think he was genuinely sad that he didn't have a business that he could invest in. One thing he said to all of them was, please keep in touch. And I do really think he means that. I think less so with Paul, but definitely with Trey.
Yeah. Yeah, no, really, really likable character from the start. Yeah, so it was, I think, I can't remember. I think it was Linda summed it up quite well. Love the person, not the idea.
And Flo, he also seemed quite sad. They did say she was really intelligent and really, really great throughout. But he was like, I'm going to have to let you go, which I thought was a sweet way of starting, you're fired. But actually, I think he felt bad that he had to say goodbye to her. I
think she seemed quite upset at the time. And, it's a lot of... Imagine getting to that stage and all of the adrenaline and emotion, it must be tough. It must be, because, you must be stressed and, hyped up, amped up, and then it's all a big release of...
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, we've got to go back home after all that time in the house and back to normal life. It's probably a really great experience to look back on as well, even if you didn't win. One thing before we talk about the two finalists, I thought was interesting in other interview episodes, there's usually quite a few tears and people getting sort of very passionate about their business, and the tissues usually come out. And I thought it was interesting that the two people that had a little bit of an emotional side to them were both of the male candidates this time, as it's usually the female candidates, but both Rachel and Flo were very businessy, whereas both Trey and Phil spoke a lot about their family and how they really influenced their business decisions. And I just thought it's quite a vulnerable moment, really. And both with Claudine. Claudine seemed to be nominated as the sort of softer, nice cop for this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I'm glad they included that bit, because I think it's important. Yes, it is an entertainment show, but, there are some core emotions and stuff, and fair play to both of them.
Definitely. I could not believe when Phil was named as one of the finalists, I want to know what was going through his mind. I think he was thinking, oh my God, this is the best thing that has happened. Because there were so many times throughout the whole series that he could have gone home, could have been fired. Lord Sugar seemed to really like him. And he obviously can see how to help the business and grow that business because it's similar to ones he's done before. And I think he just really likes him. So I bet he was so excited when he was kept in.
I did after the episode, quickly popped into his Instagram live, and he was really energetic and bouncy. So, yeah, I think he's still feeling that.
Amazing. That's so cool. I love it when they do the Instagram lives, as you can find out even more behind the scenes than we give you from the process. It's really quite fun. And Rachel as well. I've really liked her throughout. I think she's very business minded and such a strong character, really. Jim's not really somewhere I'd go, but she seems to know what she's doing. And I think I can't call it. I think both of them are very strong ideas.
And it's interesting because both finalists have existing businesses that they want the investment for expansion rather than something new, which is quite cool. So, like, you know, the foundation should be there, or I guess they are there because they're successful businesses. So, be interesting to see what the final brings.
Yeah, I think so. I really can't call it. I think Lord Sugar, well, last time he invested in Marnie, and she was a boxing gym owner, so he's recently just had experience with that, which I don't think counts against Rachel, because before Marnie, we had a couple of people that did sort of pick and mix sweet businesses. And before that, it was Alana, who does the brownies, the Welsh sort of baker. Yeah, so I don't think that would put him off. And I also think it'd be really good for him to invest in a predominantly northern-based business, because there's some, you know, pride around being from the north, and it's quite a nice USP she's got going. Yeah, you got
gyms in the north and you got pies in the south.
Yes, I know. So pies also, that's so Lord Sugar though, isn't it? It's just, you can see him wanting to do that. I don't know. They're both great, and it's going to be a really fun final.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it and seeing how our two finalists get on. And yeah, I can't call it. To be honest, I wouldn't mind if either one, but I do have a soft spot for Phil.
Do you really?
Sorry, Rachel.
Yeah, it's because we've got pies.
It's not. It's before the pies. The pies did not influence my decision in any way.
Okay. Well, I don't know, but I feel like I should. If you're going to back Phil, I'll back Rachel, just for some healthy competition. Let's do some Apprentice news. Yes. And this week I've got quite a few bits. I thought it would be interesting. And I've got a few different things too, because we're coming to the end. James looks excited. The first one, we've already spoken about Paul and how he didn't accept Lord Sugar's sort of random pitch this week. And he has done an interview and sort of gave where his mind was at in that final boardroom, which I thought would be interesting to go through. So there's a quote, and it is from which tabloid or which publication? We've got the Radio Times. He says, if I were to have taken that deal and I went home and my family had seen the journey and the struggles that I'd been through to get where I am, I know they would have been disappointed and heartbroken if I had taken it, because I would have been devaluing myself. And I could tell that it must have been some sort of personal thing. It obviously had put in a lot of time and effort, and it was a big thing for him to do. There was a reason that he didn't go on The Apprentice with that business in the first place. Maybe it's run as a family business or something as well, and it would be taking something bigger and more emotional and personal away. But I thought, yeah, I agree with you. It was the right thing, but you don't want to go home after that whole thing and your family are disappointed, do you?
No, exactly.
The next one I think we should take with a pinch of salt, because it's from the really reputable The Sun. But the headline did grab me, I'm sorry. It says, toughest test. I won The Apprentice. Stars are set up to look stupid in interviews due to strict rules, including fake business plans. What? So what is that all about? This is from 𝗕𝗰𝗯𝗲𝗃. I'm going to say that's how I'm pronouncing his name. Obviously a previous winner of The Apprentice in 2015. They're saying they're sending you up to see the interviewers without the plan and you're having to do everything by memory. And the business plan that you see them holding up are not actually the business plans, they're prop business plans, which he thought was quite funny. Well, I think much like we saw in the, was it Jersey task when they had that big folder with the massive font, I think it's definitely for show. Yeah. All for show. But it sounds really weird because this interview goes on to say that they get there, or in his year, got there for 7 a.m. and they just make you sit in silence while the interviews are going on. Obviously for sound, you can't be chattering sort of in an office somewhere where everyone else is off doing their interview. But he does say that each interview lasts between 32 minutes to an hour and the day lasts around 12 hours. So in the end, you're sort of sat for 2 or 3 hours in between each interview in silence.
That's hard.
That's hard.
I'd fall asleep.
And this is a really random one. It is slightly Apprentice related, but I just thought it was funny. There is going to be an Apprentice movie, but it's not with Alan Sugar, obviously. It is the title for a new movie about Donald Trump's rise to business. Oh, James is looking annoyed. I know. It's going to be set in the 70s and 80s, seeing the rise of Donald Trump in a new biographical film by the Iranian-Danish filmmaker Ali Abbasi. And it's showing Trump's rise in real estate. And it's got 𝗕Remy Strong, who you might recognise from Succession.
I don't watch Succession, but I recognise the name, maybe.
That's all right. And Sebastian Stan is bringing Donald Trump to life. But I thought it was funny because, as you may or may not know, Lord Sugar started doing The Apprentice after the idea was pitched to him because of the success of Donald Trump being the apprentice person in the USA. So I'm disappointed this film isn't going to be about Lord Sugar instead.
Yeah. I don't know if I did know. I don't think I knew that the US version came first, or maybe I did. I don't know.
Well, apparently they were looking for a business person to fill that Trump role, and they went to Sir Philip Green as well, and he turned it down, and Lord Sugar, I think, thought it was interesting. Did we say last week that the first few prizes in The Apprentice were actually a job?
A job, yeah. I remember that.
Rather than the investment. So there you go. There's some Apprentice news wrapped up this week. So there's the interviews all wrapped up. It was such a good one. I really enjoyed Mike, especially pulling out the big guns of buying domain names and even making a drink. Next week, we get the exciting moment when previous candidates come back and they can just muck around because it doesn't matter for them. So I think we're going to see some really good moments from people that we've loved in the past episodes. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Rachel and Phil do. It's too close to call. Say hello again in our comments. Let us know who you think's going to win. And let us know also how your predictions are going. Did you think Phil was going to go out? Or did you agree with us that he was going to be either the winner or the runner-up? Subscribe on YouTube and on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And James, do you have a final thought for us this week?
I'll try and keep it short. But it's
short and sweet.
It's 3 merged into 1 because I've only got 2 more to go. Will we see actual brands for the 2 companies this week because next week because they actually exist? Will pies be offered at the presentation? And will we see some of the judges doing some gym sessions, I guess? There we go.
I like it. 3 final thoughts in 1. But it's a good point, though. How different are they going to have to make the brands in the final episode? Because they're real. Don't know if we've had that before. Should be a good episode. I'm really looking forward to the final. We definitely both are. It's going to be a good one. And it's very close to call. So we'll see you back here next week for the final showdown.
See you for one last time. Bye.
Bye.